In the shadowy aftermath of Pablo Escobar's demise, a chilling question looms. What happened after the notorious drug lord met his end? Beyond the headlines and Hollywood depictions lies a tale of intrigue, tragedy, and the unraveling of a criminal empire. Join us as we delve into the post-Escobar era.
The U.S. Navy SEALs and British SAS team up to capture 3 men charged with genocide.
In the dimly lit streets of Medellin, Colombia, a tense and relentless pursuit unfolded in the days leading to the demise of the notorious drug lord Pablo Escobar. It wasn't just the Colombian army hot on his trail. Rival cartels, a ruthless special force known as Los Pepes, and even Escobar's own family were closing in. The hunt for Escobar became a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, with the elusive drug lord constantly slipping through their fingers. As the manhunt intensified, Escobar's once untouchable empire began to crumble. The pressure of being hunted from all sides left him isolated and vulnerable, with nowhere to turn. Each passing day narrowed his options, pushing him further into a corner. Finally, on a fateful day in December 1993, the hunt reached its climactic conclusion. A desperate attempt by Escobar to make contact with his family inadvertently led authorities to his hidden location. Surrounded by a sea of armed military forces, Escobar realized that his luck had run out. In a final, desperate bid for freedom, he attempted to flee to the rooftop, only to be met with a hail of bullets that brought him down. The death of Pablo Escobar marked not just the end of a man, but the end of an era. For those left behind, however, the story was far from over. The legacy of Escobar cast a long and dark shadow, leaving those who had once been part of his world to grapple with the aftermath of his reign of terror.
In 1993, everybody wanted Pablo Escobar dead. The United States, rival cartels, the Colombian authorities, a ragtag vigilante group of bloodthirsty civilians. Everyone.
In the heart of Medellin, Colombia, the final hours of Pablo Escobar, the infamous drug lord, played out in a deadly dance of survival and retribution. As the Colombian army, rival cartels, and Los Pepes closed in, Escobar found himself trapped in a hideout, surrounded by his echoes of his once mighty empire crumbling around him. The walls of his hideout seemed to close in, suffocating him with the weight of his past atrocities. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind, seemed to taunt him with the impending doom that loomed outside. With each passing moment, the noose tightened and Escobar's options dwindled. Desperation set in as Escobar realized the gravity of his situation. The man who had once wielded unimaginable power now found himself cornered with nowhere to run. His mind raced with thoughts of his family, his legacy, and the empire he had built with blood and cocaine. As the sun set on Medellin, a sense of finality hung in the air. The once feared kingpin, now reduced to a hunted fugitive, made a fateful decision. With a heavy heart and a resigned acceptance of his fate, Escobar reached out to his son, a move that would ultimately seal his fate. The Colombian government intercepted the call, pinpointing Escobar's location with chilling precision. Armed with this information, they descended upon his hideout with ruthless efficiency. What followed was a deadly showdown, a last stand that would go down in history as the end of an era. As bullets flew and the walls of his hideout crumbled, Pablo Escobar's reign of terror came to a dramatic and violent end. The man who had once held an entire nation in the grip of fear was now nothing more than a fallen king, a cautionary tale of the perils of unchecked power and hubris.
First time on camera, Tata reveals her inner fight to escape from the grip of the man who marked her for life. She now lives in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
In the aftermath of Pablo Escobar's death, his wife Maria faced a stark and dangerous reality. With her husband's empire in ruins and her family's safety at risk, she was forced to flee, leaving behind everything she had ever known. Maria's escape was fraught with peril and uncertainty. As she fled across borders, her every move was shadowed by the specter of revenge. The world saw her not as Maria, but as the wife of the most infamous drug lord in history, a target for those seeking retribution. Denied entry by multiple countries, Maria's options dwindled. With nowhere else to run, she sought refuge in Argentina, hoping to start a new life away from the shadows of her past. But even there, safety was fleeting, as her identity was quickly exposed, making her a target once again. Despite the constant threat of danger, Maria remained resolute. She changed her name, seeking anonymity in a world that refused to forget her past. But no matter how hard she tried to escape, the legacy of Pablo Escobar continued to haunt her, a reminder of the life she could never truly leave behind. For years, Maria lived in hiding, her every move dictated by fear and paranoia. She was a woman on the run, a fugitive from a past that threatened to consume her. But through it all, she remained determined to protect her children and forge a new path forward, no matter the cost. As Maria's story unfolds, it becomes clear that her escape was not just a physical journey, but a psychological and emotional one as well. She was a woman trapped between two worlds, struggling to break free from the shackles of her past and find a way to live on her own terms. But as we'll see, Maria's journey is far from over. As she settles into her new life in Argentina, she will face new challenges and dangers, forcing her to confront the two ghosts of her past once again. Her story is one of resilience, courage, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her children.
Siempre he asegurado que mi dinero no tiene vínculos con el narcotráfico.
In the aftermath of Pablo Escobar's death, his criminal empire faced a swift and brutal collapse. With their leader gone, his associates scattered, and his enemies closing in, the once mighty Medellin cartel crumbled like a house of cards. As news of Escobar's demise spread, rival cartels, eager to fill the power vacuum, launched a ruthless campaign to seize control of the cocaine trade. The streets of Medellin became a battleground as rival factions fought for supremacy, leaving a trail of bloodshed and chaos in their wake. But it wasn't just rival cartels that posed a threat to Escobar's legacy. The Colombian government, emboldened by Escobar's death, launched a massive crackdown on drug trafficking, targeting anyone associated with the Medellin cartel. Thousands of cartel members were arrested or killed, their assets seized, and their operations dismantled. Amidst the chaos, Escobar's family found themselves in the crosshairs of both law enforcement and vengeful rivals. Maria, Escobar's wife, was forced to flee with her children, seeking refuge in Argentina. But even there, they were not safe, as their identities were quickly exposed, making them targets once again. As the Medellin cartel collapsed, its once vast wealth and power evaporated. Properties were seized, bank accounts frozen, and assets sold off. The empire that had once been the source of so much fear and violence was reduced to nothing, a mere shadow of its former self. But while the Medellin cartel may have fallen, the legacy of Pablo Escobar lived on. His story became the stuff of legends, a cautionary tale of the perils of greed and power. And though he may have been gone, his influence continued to be felt, shaping the world of drug trafficking for years to come. As the dust settled on Escobar's empire, a new chapter in Colombia's history began. The country emerged from the shadow of the drug trade, determined to leave behind the violence and corruption that had plagued it for so long. But scars remained, reminders of a dark and tumultuous era that had left its mark on an entire nation. But even as Colombia moved forward, the specter of Pablo Escobar lingered. His name became synonymous with crime and violence, a symbol of a darker side of human nature. And though he may have been dead, his legacy continued to cast a long shadow over the country he had once ruled with an iron fist. As the world watched, Colombia struggled to rebuild and heal, determined to never again fall under the sway of a man like Pablo Escobar. But as history has shown, the allure of power and wealth is a potent one, and the lessons of Escobar's reign are ones that must never be forgotten.
Since the wave of terror had stopped and the murders had stopped almost entirely, this did not stop the business and even less the cruelty, because when they realized the absence of Escobar, several members of the Medellin cartel decided to steal some of his money.
In the wake of Pablo Escobar's downfall, his once grand empire lay in ruins, a stark reminder of the man who had ruled over it with an iron fist. The opulent mansions that had once been symbols of his power now stood empty and abandoned, their walls bearing the scars of battles fought and lost. One such mansion was the Monaco building, once a lavish retreat for Escobar and his family, now reduced to rubble by rival cartels seeking to erase any trace of his legacy. The destruction of the Monaco building was symbolic of the end of an era, a final chapter in the story of a man who had once held an entire nation in his grip. But it wasn't just Escobar's mansion that lay in ruins. La Catedral, a luxurious prison that Escobar had built for himself, had also fallen into disrepair. Once a symbol of his power and influence, it was now a haunting reminder of the man who had once ruled over it. As the Colombian government moved to dismantle Escobar's empire, they faced the daunting task of dealing with his vast wealth. Millions of dollars were buried and hidden throughout Colombia, a testament to the extent of his fortune. But despite their efforts, much of this money remained hidden, a tantalizing mystery that has never been fully solved. But amidst the ruins of Escobar's empire, there was also signs of hope. The Benedictine monks had taken over La Catedral, turning it into a place of worship and remembrance for the victims of Escobar's reign of terror. And in Medellin, efforts were underway to transform the sites of Escobar's former mansions into memorials, a somber reminder of the dark chapter in Colombia's history. As Colombia sought to move forward from the legacy of Pablo Escobar, these ruins served as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and greed. But they also stood as a testament to the resilience of the Colombian people, who refused to be defined by the actions of one man. As the dust settled on Pablo Escobar's empire, Colombia has left to grapple with a paradoxical legacy. To some, Escobar was a hero, a man who had used his wealth to build schools, hospitals, and homes for the poor. They saw him as a modern-day Robin Hood, a champion of the people against a corrupt government. But to others, Escobar was a devil, responsible for the deaths of thousands in his ruthless pursuit of power. His reign of terror had left a scar on Colombia that would take years to heal. The question of whether Escobar was a hero or a devil remains a complex and contentious one, a reminder of the complexities of human nature and the dangers of idolizing those who walk the line between good and evil. As we close the chapter on Pablo Escobar, his life and legacy remain a stark reminder of the thin line between heroism and villainy. His story is a testament to the power and peril of unchecked ambition, leaving behind a trail of destruction and legacy that continues to divide opinions. As we reflect on his life, let us remember the lessons learned to strive to build a future free from the shadows of our past.